I never thought I would have to defend my seat against a power-hungry HOA tyrant, but that fight proved how far her entitlement and arrogance can go, even in the most ridiculous situations. What happened next? Let's just say reality hit her harder than she ever expected, as her self-proclaimed authority unraveled in the most humiliating, public, and downright hilarious way imaginable. Comment below where you're watching. I've always enjoyed business trips, not because of the work, but because of the moment when they finally end. Nothing beats the relief of heading home, leaving behind endless meetings, tight suits, and lifeless office lights. This time was no different. After a long week away, I was finally on my way back, and I had only one mission left. Get on my VIP seat, put on some jazz, and enjoy the ride home. The bus station was packed that afternoon, but I didn't mind. I had booked seat 1A in the VIP section, a spacious, comfortable window seat that let me avoid the cramped standard section. It was worth every penny for a long trip like this. I made my way through the crowd to the Elite Express waiting area, a company known for its luxury bus services. A few other passengers were already there, waiting patiently. I checked my ticket again, confirming I had the right bus, then popped in my earbuds and let the soft jazz drown out the station's noise. 10 more minutes until departure. Perfect. And then, she appeared. HOA Karen. I didn't notice her at first. It was just a feeling, like the air suddenly got heavier. You know that moment when someone walks in and acts like the world revolves around them? Yeah, that. When I looked up, I saw a middle-aged woman with oversized sunglasses, a beige faux fur coat, and a designer handbag. She dragged her Louis Vuitton suitcase behind her with an air of entitlement so thick you could cut it with a knife. She marched through the station like a queen surveying her kingdom, her nose slightly tilted upward. When a staff member accidentally stood in her way, she shot him a disgusted look, as if he had personally insulted her. The poor guy immediately stepped aside, without her even needing to say a word. Then, she started talking, and I immediately regretted taking out my earbuds. "Why isn't there a separate VIP lane?" she complained loudly to a station employee. "This place is so disorganized. I'll have to file a complaint with the city council." I raised an eyebrow. A complaint? Against a bus station? And that's when it hit me, she was one of those people. A self-proclaimed HOA, Homeowners Association, president. You know the type, the kind who sends passive-aggressive letters about your lawn not being trimmed to exactly 2 inches, demands neighbors repaint their fences, and threatens to sue you for putting your trash can in the wrong spot. And now, she was bringing her HOA nonsense to a public bus station. I shook my head and went back to my music, determined to ignore her. She wasn't my problem. But then, she turned and walked straight toward me. The driver finally opened the bus doors for boarding, and I took out my ticket. I handed it to the ticket checker, got the green light, and stepped onto the bus. I found seat 1A, placed my carry-on in the overhead bin, adjusted the seat, and sat down with a relieved sigh. Finally. Peace. Or so I thought. Just as I reached for the window shade, a sharp voice cut through the cabin. "You're in my seat." I blinked and turned my head. There she was, HOA Karen, standing next to me with her hands on her hips and a face full of outrage. "Excuse me?" I asked, keeping my voice neutral. "You're sitting in my seat," she repeated, this time with more authority. I frowned, pulling out my ticket and double-checking. "Seat 1A. Yep. No mistake." "I don't think so," I said, holding up my ticket. "I booked this seat in advance." HOA Karen barely glanced at my ticket before rolling her eyes dramatically. "That's impossible. I always sit here." And that was the moment I knew. This trip was about to get interesting. I took a deep breath, keeping my tone as calm as possible. "Ma'am, I'm pretty sure this is my seat. I booked it, and my ticket says 1A. But Karen just crossed her arms, tilted her head, and scoffed. "No. There's been a mistake. I always sit here. This is my seat every time I take this route." I blinked. Did she just claim permanent ownership of a bus seat? "Well, I booked it for today," I said, gesturing to my ticket again. Karen let out a deep, exaggerated sigh, the kind toddlers make when they don't get what they want. I'm a VIP customer. I never sit in standard seats. She turned to a passing bus employee and, without lowering her voice, practically snapped. Excuse me. There's a problem here. This man is sitting in my seat. The ticket checker, a young guy who looked like he'd already had enough of today, gave her a polite but tired smile. Ma'am, may I see your ticket? Karen hesitated. For the first time, her smugness faltered. She slowly reached into her oversized purse, dramatically rummaging through its contents. First, she pulled out an iPhone. Then, a perfume bottle. Then, a designer wallet. Then, a lipstick? Was she actually looking for her ticket or just trying to flex her luxury items? Finally, after an unnecessarily long display, she pulled out a crumpled piece of paper and handed it over. The ticket checker unfolded it, scanned it quickly, and let out a quiet sigh. Then, he turned to her and said the magic words. Ma'am, your seat is actually 23B, in the standard section. Silence. Karen blinked, as if reality was refusing to sink in. That can't be right. She shook her head like a child rejecting vegetables. I always sit in first class. I assure you, ma'am, this is correct, the ticket checker said patiently. You purchased a standard ticket. Unless you upgrade, your seat remains 23B. Karen's eyes narrowed. She turned back to me, her face darkening. And then, she said something so absurd, I almost laughed out loud. You should just switch with me. I blinked. Excuse me. You look young and healthy, she snapped. You don't need first class as much as I do. Did she just demand I give up my seat because I didn't need it? I exhaled slowly, realizing something. Karen wasn't done. She was just getting started. And judging by the tension in the cabin, this situation was far from over. At this point, I could have argued with Karen. I could have told her to stop being ridiculous and just go sit in her assigned seat in the standard section. But something in my gut told me that Karen wasn't going to give up that easily. So instead of arguing, I just sat back, folded my arms, and waited. And sure enough, Karen wasn't finished. She took a deep breath, squared her shoulders, and switched tactics entirely. Her scowl vanished. Instead, she plastered on a smug smile, one that screamed, I have an ace up my sleeve. All right, she said, drawing out the word dramatically. You clearly don't understand who you're dealing with. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, here we go. Karen turned slightly, making sure the other VIP passengers were watching. Then she dropped her bombshell announcement. I am the president of the HOA in Lakeside Elite. I blinked. Did she really just use an HOA title as a threat? The rest of the bus went silent for a moment, before a few passengers started snickering. Karen either didn't notice or didn't care. She flipped her hair, lifted her chin, and continued. I have a lot of influence in this city. I have connections with local officials. I have helped countless businesses thrive, and I could ruin this company's reputation with just one phone call. I exchanged glances with the ticket checker, who looked like he was barely holding back laughter. Ma'am, this is a public bus service. Your HOA status doesn't apply here. Karen's face twitched, as if she couldn't comprehend how someone had just dismissed her authority. She huffed, pulled out her phone, and started typing furiously. I leaned slightly, just enough to catch a glimpse of her screen. She was making a Facebook post. I have never been treated so poorly. This company refuses to accommodate a loyal VIP customer. Disgusting. Share this so everyone knows how horribly they treat people. She pressed post, then sat back with a victorious smirk. A guy sitting in front of me glanced at his phone, scrolled for a moment, then let out a quiet snort. She seriously thinks she's about to start a revolution on Facebook, he muttered. Another passenger chuckled. Who even uses Facebook for this anymore? Karen pretended not to hear. Just wait, she said smugly. This company is about to regret treating me like this. I wasn't sure what she was expecting. Maybe she thought her army of HOA minions would flood the post with outrage. But instead, nothing. After a few minutes, she checked her post. It had 2 likes. One was from an account named Karen's HOA Community. The other was from her own account. A soft chuckle spread through the bus as people peeked at their phones and realized just how little impact her influence actually had. But instead of backing down, Karen doubled down. "You don't seem to understand," she said, turning back to me with the same entitled tone. "I could make your life very difficult." I just stared at her, deadpan. "Ma'am, you can't even make a Facebook post go viral. How are you going to make my life difficult?" A few passengers burst out laughing. Karen's face turned red. And that's when, finally, the bus station manager arrived. A deep, firm voice cut through the laughter. "Is there a problem here?" Everyone turned to see a tall, broad-shouldered man in a navy blue uniform stepping onto the bus. Daniel, the bus station manager. His face was calm, but serious. It was the face of a man who had dealt with one too many Karens in his lifetime. The ticket checker quickly stepped up. "Sir, this passenger," he gestured at me, "has a valid VIP ticket for seat 1A. But this passenger," he pointed at Karen, "bought a standard ticket for seat 23B and is refusing to move." Daniel sighed. "Ma'am, may I see your ticket?" Karen, for the second time, pulled out her crumpled ticket and shoved it toward him with an attitude. Daniel unfolded it, looked at it for 2 seconds, and said flatly, "Ma'am, you purchased a standard ticket for seat 23B. There is no mistake." Karen clenched her jaw. "That can't be right. I always sit in first class." "No, ma'am, you don't," Daniel said, completely unbothered. "You either take seat 23B, or you get off the bus." At this point, the passengers were beyond done with her. From the back of the bus, someone yelled, "Just sit down or get off." Another person groaned, "I have a connection to catch, lady." Daniel folded his arms. "This is your final warning. Are you taking seat 23B or not?" Karen stood frozen, like a stubborn child. Then, she did something no one expected. She plopped down into seat 1A, crossed her arms, and stared straight ahead like a 5-year-old throwing a silent tantrum. Silence. Then Daniel sighed again. He pulled out his radio. "Call security." 2 security guards, ***, a tall, no-nonsense woman and a stocky man built like a linebacker, ***, stepped onto the bus. The female guard looked at Karen like a disappointed schoolteacher. "Ma'am, if you do not stand up right now, we will physically remove you from the vehicle." Karen's mouth dropped open. "You can't do that. I have rights." "Yes," the guard said. "And your rights include following the bus company's policies. This isn't your seat. Stand up or be removed." Karen shook her head violently. So, they grabbed her by the arms and lifted her up. And just like that, HOA Karen was officially dragged off the bus. The passengers erupted into applause. One guy cheered, "Elite Express takes no BS." And, of course, half the bus had been recording. By the time the security guards had escorted Karen off the bus, a guy in business casual checked his phone and laughed. "Oh my God, she's already on Reddit." I checked my phone, and there it was. HOA Karen gets dragged off a bus after trying to steal a VIP seat. By the time the bus finally pulled out of the station, the internet had already turned Karen into a living meme. And she had no way to stop it. Just when I thought the chaos was over, my phone buzzed. Envelope with arrow, a message request from HOA Karen. I blinked. Was she seriously messaging me? Curiosity got the best of me. I opened it. HOA Karen. "Hey, I know we got off on the wrong foot, but can you maybe help me out? This is getting out of control. People are attacking me. Maybe you could make a post saying it wasn't as bad as people think? I just don't want my life ruined over one mistake. Please." I stared at my screen, completely stunned. Karen, the same woman who screamed at me, called me selfish, threatened to sue the bus company, and tried to steal my seat, was now asking me for help? And not once in her message did she. White heavy check mark apologize. White heavy check mark admit she was wrong. White heavy check mark take any responsibility. No, she just didn't want her life to be ruined. Typical. I sighed, closed the message, and didn't reply. I checked Facebook. Sure enough, Karen was in full damage control mode. Police car light, she had deleted all her angry posts about the bus company. Police car light, she had changed her profile settings to private. Police car light, she was blocking people left and right. But it was too late. People had already saved screenshots. Videos of her tantrum were spreading like wildfire. One Reddit thread had over 50,000 upvotes. HOA Karen throws a fit over a VIP seat, gets dragged off the bus like a toddler. The top comment. Imagine being so entitled you think president of an HOA is a flex. Another comment. She really thought Facebook was gonna save her LMAO. Twitter, or, well, X, was just as brutal. Karen tried to delete her posts, but we've got receipts. Face with tears of joy. She thought she could rewrite history. Sorry, ma'am, the internet has already decided your fate. Karen had completely lost control of the narrative. Loudspeaker, then came the final nail in the coffin. Oncoming bus Elite Express officially announced that HOA Karen was permanently banned from using their services. We are committed to ensuring a safe and respectful travel experience for all passengers. Any individual who disrupts operations, harasses staff, or refuses to comply with company policies will be permanently banned. Effective immediately, the individual involved in today's incident will no longer be allowed to use our services. The reaction was immediate and glorious. This is the customer service we love to see. Elite Express really said, not on our watch. She fought so hard for a VIP seat, and now she can't even get a standard seat. Karma. And the best part? Other bus companies started taking notice. Rumors began swirling that other transportation services were considering banning her too. Meaning, prohibited she might not be able to take a bus anywhere ever again. Just when things couldn't get any worse for Karen. A post appeared on Reddit from someone claiming to be a resident of her HOA community. I live in Lakeside Elite, and let me tell you, this woman has been a nightmare. She fines people for having the wrong shade of beige on their fences. She tried to get a veteran's flag taken down. And now that she's embarrassed us all, the board is calling a meeting to discuss removing her as HOA president. Good riddance. And the replies? Oh my God, she's losing everything. She tried to flex her HOA power, and now she's about to be kicked out of the HOA. You love to see it. Karen had not only lost her reputation, but now she was about to lose her self-given power trip over her neighbors too. Just as I was about to put my phone away, another message popped up. Envelope with arrow, HOA Karen. Please. Just one post. Just say it wasn't that bad. I'll even pay you if you want. I rolled my eyes. She wasn't sorry. She didn't learn anything. She just wanted to fix her image. Prohibited, blocked. I sighed, stretched my legs, and finally, leaned back in my VIP seat. For the first time since the trip started, I actually felt relaxed. Karen wanted a VIP seat. Moneybag, she refused to pay for an upgrade. Loudspeaker, she tried to use her influence to get it for free. Police car light, she threw a tantrum and got herself banned. And now, stop sign, she lost everything. Bus, she can't take that bus ever again. House with garden, her own HOA is turning against her. Laptop computer, she's now a meme on the internet. She didn't just get kicked off a bus. She got a lifetime of consequences for being a terrible person. And the best part? She did it all to herself. I smirked, pulled down my window shade, and let out a deep breath. For once, the world had served up the perfect justice.